I saved for 6 months to give my daughter her dream birthday. Then my brother sold her tickets. Hey, I'm Jake, 38, and last month I learned that being the responsible one in a family means you're expected to fund everyone else's emergencies, even if it ruins your kid's birthday. This all happened the week my daughter, Lila, turned 15. I drive an airport shuttle van, and I'm the guy who remembers everyone's allergies, shows up early, and pays the deposit when no one else can swing it this month. You know the type. I'd saved up for 6 months, 6 brutal, tip-scraping, meal-skipping months, to get Lila 2 tickets to see Olivia Rodrigo. 4 seats, $1,800 total. Her favorite artist, her first big concert, and something that felt like more than just a present. After her mom left 2 years ago, she hadn't smiled much. But that week, she was glowing. So there we were. Saturday evening, 6:15 p.m. Standing outside the arena in a sea of glitter and denim jackets, Lila in her purple hoodie, practically levitating from excitement. She had the tickets loaded on her phone, her fingers trembling as we stepped forward in the security line. I'll never forget the way she looked at me and whispered, "Dad, we're actually doing this." Then came the scanner. The ticket attendant scanned her barcode. "Red." She said. "Let's try that again." Another scan. "Red again." My stomach clenched. The girl gave a polite smile that said, "I'm trained not to panic people, but this is bad." She asked, "Did you buy these through the official site?" "Yeah," I said instantly. "Direct from the platform. Months ago." She nodded, tapping her tablet. "Do you have the confirmation email?" And just like that, my blood went cold. Because I did have the confirmation. I had the charge on my credit card. What I didn't have anymore were the actual tickets. I pulled up the app. They were still listed. But now, under them, in tiny gray font, "Transfer complete." Not by me. Not on any device I'd touched. I stepped out of line, told Lila I just needed a second, and called the one person I suspected immediately. My older brother, Brian. The guy who once borrowed my car for an errand and returned it 3 weeks later with a broken window and a new parking ticket. He picked up on the second ring. "Yo," he said, casual, like we were about to go get wings. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just asked, "Did you get into my ticket account today?" There was a pause, then a sigh, then the words I'll never forget. "Yeah," he said. "I sold them. Rent's due. Lila'll understand." I stood there outside a stadium while my daughter waited in line with hope in her chest, and my brother, the golden boy who never got it together, told me he stole from her birthday and expected me to just understand. And that's when everything changed. I didn't scream at him. Not because I wasn't angry. Believe me, I've never been more ready to drive to someone's house and throw a shoe through a window, but because I could still see Lila watching me from the security gate, clutching her phone like it was her golden ticket to happiness. I clenched my jaw. "How did you even get in?" Brian chuckled, like this was some dumb prank. "Bro, you use the same password for everything. Mom gave it to me last year when she needed to order flowers on your Amazon." "Mom?" "Of course. Wait, are you with her right now?" I asked. He hesitated. "Yeah, she's here." Then, muffled in the background, I heard my mother's voice. "Tell him not to make a scene. He'll be fine. He'll be fine." Like I was some middle manager at a department store who just needed to clock in and get over it. I hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I just stood there, breathing like I'd just gotten punched in the throat. I opened the app again. Double-checked everything. Same message. "Transfer complete." The timestamp? 3:47 p.m. That day, 4 hours before showtime. While I was dropping off a business traveler at Terminal C and texting Lila to make sure she was hydrating before the concert, my brother was logging into my account and selling her birthday gift for $900 on some resale site. I called the ticket vendor. Waited through 10 minutes of peppy hold music that made me want to commit minor crimes. When a rep finally picked up, I gave her the facts. My account was accessed without permission. 2 tickets were transferred this afternoon. I'm at the venue now, and they're coming up invalid. I need the transfer reversed or a refund. She asked for verification. I gave her everything. Card digits, email address, the order number I still had saved in a note titled Lila's Big Night. And then came the kicker. She said, "Sir, I can see the transfer. The tickets were sent to a different email. I can't disclose it for privacy reasons." I didn't even flinch. "I know. It's not mine." Another hold. Then she came back. We'll open a fraud case. If we determine the transfer was unauthorized, we can issue a refund. I agreed, told her to lock the account, sign out all devices, send me the logs. And just like that, the conversation shifted in my head. It wasn't family drama anymore. It was documentation. I walked back to Lila, who was standing off to the side now. Her smile half melted, like she already knew. We can't get in, I told her. Her eyes filled so fast I almost looked away. But you bought them, she whispered. I did, I said. But someone else took them. Who? I looked her straight in the face. Your uncle. She blinked like I'd said a stranger's name. But why would he? Because he needed rent money, I said. And he thought you'd be fine. There was a long, quiet beat where Lila just looked down at the ground and said the softest thing I've ever heard. On my birthday, I didn't answer. I didn't know how to. So I took her hand, and we walked away from the stadium. The cheering, the music, the lights, it all felt like it was happening in another world. In our world, something had snapped. We got back to my shuttle van, the same one I'd used for airport runs earlier that day, and Lila climbed into the back like a customer, not a daughter. She curled up in the corner seat, hoodie up, arms wrapped around her knees. She wasn't crying. She just looked folded in. I sat in the front, gripping the steering wheel like it owed me money. My heart was beating out of sync. Not from the money. $1,800 was brutal, but I'd survived worse. It was the betrayal. The calculation. My daughter was a soft target, and my family used her like a piggy bank. I sent one text to my mom. Brian sold Lila's concert tickets today. We were at the gate. They didn't scan. I filed a fraud claim. Do not contact her. Then I started driving. Nowhere in particular. Just away. Lila didn't say a word for 10 minutes. Then, from the back, "Are you mad at me?" That question almost made me pull over and scream into the sky. "No," I said, twisting around in my seat. "Never. I'm mad at adults who should know better." She nodded, but her eyes filled anyway. "I was so excited," she whispered. "I didn't try to fix it. I didn't lie or promise her we'd find a way to go in. I just let her sit with her hurt, because sometimes what kids need isn't a solution, it's honesty." "Why does Grandma always take his side?" she asked suddenly. It came out like something that had been waiting in her throat for years. I swallowed. "Because she's used to it. It's a system. Brian breaks things, I fix them, and she keeps pretending it's not a problem." Lila leaned her head against the window. "Do we have to keep doing that?" "No," I said. "You and me? We're done with that." That night, after I got her settled with leftover pizza and a hoodie big enough to hide in, I sat at my laptop and got to work. I downloaded the email logs from my account. I screenshotted the device access history, changed every password, set up two-factor authentication on everything. I combed through the old email I'd ignored for months. There it was, clear as day. 3:47 p.m. Login from a Chrome browser in the same zip code as my mom's house. Then I did one more thing. I opened my bank app and stared at the $250 automatic transfer I'd been sending to my mom each month. Supposedly for grocery help, but really to plug whatever hole Brian had most recently dug. I canceled it. Not paused, canceled. I also canceled the phone plan I'd been covering. The one where Brian always had the newest phone, but couldn't ever afford his part of the bill. And then I sent an email to both of my parents. Subject: boundaries. Brian accessed my account without permission and sold Lila's birthday gift. The tickets were invalid at the gate. I filed a fraud claim. Going forward, I will no longer provide financial support. Do not contact Lila about this. That was it. No anger, no begging, no explaining. I wasn't opening a conversation. I was closing a chapter. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing like it had something to say. 7:11 a.m. Mom calling. I let it ring. 7:13, text from Mom. Call me. Now. I didn't. 7:19, another text. Brian told me what happened. He's under pressure, Jake. You have a job. There it was. The sentence I knew was coming. The family's all-purpose Band-Aid for any injury they caused. You have a job. Like that erased theft. Like having employment meant I was an emotional landfill where everyone else could dump their mess, and I'd just keep going. I typed one line back. Lila is not a bill you can reassign. Then I silenced my phone and made coffee. At 8:42 a.m., Dad texted. Son, let's talk. I replied, email is fine, because talk in my family means apply pressure until Jake backs down and restores the old system. At noon, the last text came in. From Brian. A new number. Bro, you're being dramatic. I was gonna pay you back. Chill. That one sat in my notifications for a while. I read it 10 times. Pay me back? With what? A gift card from some guy on Craigslist? The lottery? I wrote. Cool. Then figure out your rent without me. Blocked the number. Not as revenge. As policy. That night, Lila was quiet. She didn't eat much. She curled up on the couch and watched the same 3 episodes of a sitcom she always puts on when life feels unsafe. At 6:30, she came into the kitchen while I was cooking. Grandma texted me, she said, sliding her phone across the counter like it burned her fingers. The message was syrupy sweet. Honey, Uncle Brian had an emergency. Don't be mad. He didn't mean to hurt you. Family is family. Lila didn't say anything for a second. She just sat there, looking older than 15. Am I allowed to be mad? She asked softly. My heart cracked right down the middle. Yes, I said. You're allowed to feel anything you feel. She nodded. She said he had bills. I know. So do you, she said. But you don't take my stuff. I blinked hard. That one got me. I didn't try to spin it. I didn't tell her people are complicated or that forgiveness is noble. I just nodded. You're right, I said. That night, we didn't talk about the concert. We didn't try to fix the night. We just existed. But something had changed, and I was done pretending it hadn't. That night, after Lila went to bed, I opened my laptop and did something I probably should have done years ago. I built a file. I named it Lila, Protected. Inside it, I saved everything. Screenshots of the ticket transfer. Confirmation of the original purchase. The access logs showing Brian's timestamped login. The fraud case number from the vendor. My email to my parents. My canceled bank transfers. My new passwords and 2-factor codes. It was quiet. Methodical. Cold, maybe. But it felt like armor. The next day, an email came in from the vendor. Unauthorized access confirmed. Refund issued. $1,800. It hit my account by afternoon. I stared at the number, same amount I'd once celebrated as a birthday splurge, and felt nothing. Not relief. Not happiness. Just confirmation. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Lila. Because I already knew what would happen next. And sure enough, 2 days later, my mom showed up at my apartment. No warning. Just a knock that said, I'm not leaving till I get what I came for. I stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind me. Jake, she said immediately, why are you doing this? Brian is under so much pressure. We're not doing this in my home, I said. Her expression snapped like a rubber band. I raised you, she snapped. And I'm raising Lila, I said. Different job. She blinked. Shifted tactics. He said he sold the tickets for rent. He didn't mean to hurt anyone. I stared at her. She was at the gate, Mom. Dressed up. On her birthday. Mom's face twitched like I was being cruel. She'll get over it. She's a kid. And that was the moment. That sentence. That shrug of a soul. Not I'm sorry. Not let's make it right. Just she'll get over it. Like my daughter's heartbreak was a speed bump in Brian's financial adventure. I kept my voice calm. Even. The problem isn't that Brian needed help, I said. The problem is that he looked at Lila and saw a resource. She opened her mouth, ready to twist it all back into guilt soup. But I cut her off. We're even now, I said. You don't owe me anything. I don't owe you anything. And her face changed because she understood what that meant. No more $250 a month. No more phone plan. No more quiet padding for Brian's messes. You can't do that, she hissed. We're family. I can, I said. And I did. Mom's eyes narrowed, like she was trying to reset the board. You're punishing all of us because of one mistake. One mistake. I repeated, and I almost laughed. This wasn't an accident, Mom. He didn't trip and land on my password. He planned it. She shook her head. Jake, he's depressed. He's not okay. If something happens to him. And there it was. The emotional hostage note. I'd been waiting for it. If Brian needs help, I said slowly, he can get professional help. I'm not his emergency exit anymore. That hit her hard. I could see it. She tried to cry. The big, performative tears I'd grown up watching. But I didn't move. I didn't flinch. You've changed, she said, like it was a curse. I'm not cold, I said. I'm done. She sniffed once. You think you're better than us because you work. No, I said. I think Lila deserves adults who don't steal from her and get defended with he had bills. The tears stopped instantly. A switch flipped. She leaned in close, like she wanted to whisper a final warning. You're really doing this? Yes, I said. She stared at me like I'd just torn down a church. Then she turned and walked down the hall like she didn't recognize the building anymore. That evening, Brian tried again. New number. Different tone. Mom said you cut them off. You got the refund. So what's the problem? I didn't even blink. The problem wasn't the refund. The problem was that my brother looked at my daughter's birthday and saw a clearance sale. I didn't respond. I blocked the number. Then the real wave hit. Text from my aunt. Heard you're having a breakdown. Call your mother. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. Dude, Brian's really struggling. Why are you doing this to him? Even one of my regular shuttle clients, who apparently knew my mom from church, said as she buckled her seatbelt, your mother is worried sick. She says you're not yourself lately. I didn't explain. I didn't rant. I didn't make Facebook posts. I just kept doing what I knew worked. Facts. Boundaries. Silence. I replied to my dad's one polite guilt trip email. If you want a relationship with me and Lila, you can respect our boundaries. Brian is not part of our life right now. Then I archived the thread. Brian tried every trick after that. Anger. You're selfish. You always thought you were better than the rest of us. Guilt. I was desperate, man. I didn't know what else to do. Pity. You know I'm not good at this life stuff like you are. You always had it together. And the smear campaign. Jake cares more about a pop star than his own brother. Each message was a different costume, but they all came from the same place. The assumption that I would fold. That I'd cave like always. But I didn't. Because the structure was already changed. The wiring was different now. No more automatic transfers. No more quiet support. No more just this once. And the quietest part of it all? Lila. She didn't ask to go to another concert. Not even weeks later when Olivia Rodrigo's tour added new dates. Not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't want to hope. She didn't trust Happy. That wrecked me more than the refund ever could. So I didn't try to fix it with some grand gesture or last-minute replacement tickets. I didn't drag her to something she didn't choose. I just showed up, every day, the way I always did. I rebuilt the trust slow. With consistency. I let her be mad. I didn't minimize her feelings. I stopped shielding her from family truths. We made a new birthday tradition. Not flashy, not expensive. Just ours. A weekend where she chose everything. No obligations. No surprises. For her 16th, she picked a tiny indie show 2 hours away. $45 tickets. General admission, local pizza after. It wasn't about the artist. It was about that moment when the scanner lit up green. And she turned to me, eyes wide, and whispered, "We're really in." That smile? That was the actual refund. It's been just over a year since that night at the arena. 14 months and change since my daughter stood in line holding tickets that no longer existed. Our relationship with my family now? Smaller. Lighter. Surface level. My parents and I talk maybe once a month. Weather, health stuff, nothing real. If mom tries to guilt trip or give me the latest Brian update, I shut it down. I'm not available for that conversation. I say, and I mean it. Brian and I haven't spoken since the day he stole from Lila. I heard, through whispers and relatives I don't engage with, that he bounced between 2 jobs, got evicted, and eventually moved back in with our parents. He tells the story like I abandoned him over concert tickets. And that's fine. He can play the victim in his version. In mine, I protected my kid. Lila is 16 now. She's taller than her mom ever was, sharper than I ever hoped she'd need to be. She works part-time at a bakery and saves most of her paycheck. She's cautious with people, thoughtful with money. She asks questions most kids wouldn't think to ask, because she learned early that adults don't always deserve blind trust. Sometimes that makes me sad. Sometimes it makes me proud. Our life is quieter now. No more surprise withdrawals. No more pressure to carry a grown man's bills under the guise of keeping the peace. And our finances? Steadier. Not rich. Not flashy. Just stable. Because I stopped bleeding money into a system that never respected me or my daughter. I still drive my shuttle. Still know which gas stations are 6 cents cheaper on Tuesdays. But I sleep better. I laugh more. I make birthday plans with zero dread. And here's what I know now, really know. If someone is willing to hurt your child and call it survival, they're not struggling. They're calculating. Brian didn't have an emergency. He had access. The second I removed that access, my entire family unraveled. Not because I was cruel, but because I was no longer convenient. And when I finally heard my mom say, She'll get over it. She's a kid. I understood the truth. They didn't think what happened mattered, because they never thought Lila mattered as much as Brian's bills. So now, I protect her like she's the most important person in the world. Because she is. Not because she's perfect, but because she deserves to know what it feels like to be loved without conditions. Without fine print. Without giving something up. Family isn't who shares your last name. It's who doesn't treat your love like a resource. And if standing between my daughter and harm makes me the villain in someone else's story, so be it. I'd rather be her shield than their doormat. Every single time.